Alright, peace and greetings, YouTubers. So the Derek Chauvin verdict. At this point, we've learned that Derek Chauvin has been convicted of the crimes in association with the murder of George Floyd. He's been convicted of second and third degree murder as well as second degree manslaughter. And the judge is pretty much going to be the one who determines what the sentencing will be. Because again, Derek Chauvin waived that right of the jury to make that choice. So it will be in the hands of the judge. We'll see how that goes. I'm a little iffy about this judge. So, we'll kind of just follow and see what happens in the next few weeks. For those who are out celebrating and parading and, enjoying this temporary milestone, I will say, have your moment, but also be careful. Because again, society is pretty evil. And in moments like this is where people take the opportunity to go and do terrible things to groups of people if they're enraged about what may have happened, if they're not happy with the verdict, or if they feel that a system that they love so much is being challenged. This is when you see people go and be violent. So please be careful, because just in regards to what we saw during the summer of 2020, when you saw a lot of people protesting or raising their voices, and then you see the lunatic come and drive through the crowd with a car or whatever else has happened, things like that are still normalized in this country. So please be careful. For me, in regards to the actual verdict, what sucks is that, we literally have to celebrate the bare minimum. This should have already just been the norm. Things that should already be routine are so rare when it comes to handling the flaws that exist within policing and in the judicial system and the prison industrial complex, that when you get one small victory, it's almost like the Disneyland parade after you win the Super Bowl. Like it's crazy to me, because again, the norm should be that when the police do something out of pocket, when they kill somebody unjustifiably, when they kill somebody unarmed, when they shoot somebody who was not resisting, and I'm not saying they should be shot for resisting either, but when they just shoot somebody and it's unjustified, when they shoot somebody in the back, when it's a chokehold, when it's whatever it is that is fishy, it should just be the norm that the police are charged, and not just charged, but also convicted, and not convicted of the lower tier crimes, but convicted of the actual crimes that led to the death of that individual. And what I mean by that is, even when you look at something like what's happening with the Brianna Taylor situation, the officer that was actually charged in the incident, they're not even being charged for killing Brianna Taylor. They're being charged because they shot a bullet into the other apartment and put those residents of that apartment in danger. So, they're being charged with first degree wanton endangerment. And I'm like, but what about the person y'all actually killed? Stuff like that. That's normally what happens if police do get charged. They get a little slap on the wrist for a smaller charge that, is going to carry 4 or 5 years. It's never, you never see the big guns drawn out. And so it's just been normalized where the police can go and do whatever they want. And we're just so used to not getting justice, it's become the norm. And so in this moment, yes, it's a victory. But again, this is like one small step in the journey of climbing a Mount Everest of injustices in regards to the policing system. And so there's so much more that still has to be done. And again, you still have these other 3 officers who, again, are going to be going to trial in August, because for me, they're just as responsible for standing there and allowing that to happen. It makes no sense that even the citizens who are not police, who are not armed, who are literally there, are pretty much saying do something, and they won't even stand there. If anything, they're there pushing the people back, making sure that they don't interfere. So they're just as guilty. And so, that's the sad aspect. And even with all of this, what makes this even sadder for me is, think of everything that had to happen in order for today to come. First of all, had this not been on video, Derek Chauvin would have not been charged. Derek Chauvin would have been minding his business. It would have gone down in the little history books that, okay, George Floyd was probably some drug addict and, he died of natural causes. That's what the defense was trying to push. He was already on drugs, and they'll latch onto everything else to make it seem justifiable that they deserve to die because they caused their own death. That's kind of the narrative that normally happens. When black people especially get killed by the police unarmed, find a way to justify why they deserve to die and somehow make it seem like it's all their fault. Don't blame the bullet that killed them. Don't blame the chokehold that killed them. It's their fault. They did something on their own. But think of everything that had to happen. That video had to be there. That video goes viral. The world sees it. Some people claim that the world had like a great awakening, and you see all these massive protests globally in all kind of major metropolitan cities for weeks at a time, where you have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, depending on what city, out here protesting and calling for some element of change to take place. And then you even saw the elements of symbolism, and you saw corporations all of a sudden, oh, we're going to donate 20 million of this and this to black unity, and this is going to go to that organization, and we're going to do this, and oh, this city is voting to change how much money is going to the police department, and it's going to go to the social programs. Like, all of that had to take place, and people putting the black squares on Instagram. I'm not going to post on Instagram today because I'm trying to prove a point. And all of that literally had to happen for this one case. But all of the other victims did not get that same treatment. And it's not to say that one carries more weight than the other, but it's highlighting the fact that this system, like I said, is so broken but so routine that terrorizing citizens is normalized. having race soldiers pretty much just go out and target black citizens or brown citizens or anybody else, and being protected by a system that allows them to do that, it's normalized. And so in this one instance where you literally had a come to Jesus moment, where this one was just so out of pocket and it got so much attention that finally something had to be done, yes, you can say to an extent it is a victory, but it's also very disturbing, because again, I think of all the families that did not get justice, that won't be getting justice, the families that have been appealing for somebody to go and revisit some of these cases, and it's case is closed, nobody's going to revisit that, or they don't have the money to pay a good lawyer to go and do the work. And there's so many families that are left out of these conversations, and families that aren't going to get justice, and again, families where this will happen again in the future and they're not going to get the justice that they deserve. That's the sad part. And again, it goes back to showing that, again, the work is not done, because this system is still here. Yes, an example has been made out of Derek Chauvin, but that does not change policing in the United States. I say everything works as a system. Like, think about like a bowling alley. A bowling alley has its sole purpose. The people come in, they bowl, they have a good time, they go home. In order for them to have that good time, there's a system that works with how that bowling little machinery works. You throw the ball or you roll the ball, it knocks the pins down, the old pins go down, the new pins come onto the ground, and then the ball rolls, goes in the machine, comes back up, and you do it all over again. And then, so that's like a system, right? So people come in there daily for years and use the bowling alley, and they have a great time, and every now and then there's a flaw. Maybe the machinery doesn't come down to bring the new pins, or maybe the ball gets stuck. What happens? You push the little button, and either the machinery starts over and resets, and even if it doesn't do that, somebody who works there comes and fixes it. Or somebody comes and they move the ball so it goes back down, and then boom, you're back to bowling. That system goes back into play. That's how I look at this conviction. This conviction to me is just the ball that it didn't go all the way down, it got stuck on the side of the gutter, and so the guy came in and kicked it down, and now the system goes back into play, right? You keep going, everybody get bowling, it's your turn, you got the nachos and the pizza, let's go. Same kind of energy. And what I mean by that is, think about the changes we've seen since last summer. When all of this stuff first went down last summer and everybody was outraged, you had politicians taking a knee and everybody was having all of these hashtag moments and everybody all of a sudden cared about police brutality. Now you're seeing all of that be reversed. You have states changing their laws where now it's illegal to record the police in some states. Why do you think that is a thing? Because again, had Derek Chauvin not been recorded doing what he was doing, he would not be convicted right now. He would not be going to jail. So again, what do? You get rid of the pretty much the obstacles that slow that process down. So you have some states and some cities and some jurisdictions making it illegal to film police doing their police duties. My thing is, if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, what's the problem with them being filmed? Any other time y'all want to make money from it and you had TV shows like The First 48 or Cops or America's Most Wanted, you had no problem filming everything. Now when you're in the wrong, you don't want to be on camera. Okay, so you have things like that going on. Or even DeSantis in Florida making the law where it's now legal to run over protesters if you feel that you're in danger with your car. And it's also pretty much, just go look at the laws that have happened in Florida in regards to what happens with protesting. Like, literally, y'all might as well just stay in the house. Because as soon as you step out, there's grounds for being arrested, literally. And so, again, it's just absolutely crazy. And I'm also wondering how fast it's going to be before Derek Chauvin's team comes with the appeal. That's next, okay? In regards to my conversation about the system of policing, I've always felt that there has to be an agency independent of anything that has ties to our current judicial system, policing system, and the prison industrial complex that has to pretty much police the police. You need a separate agency that has no ties to any of that. No ties to any politics, no ties to any super PACs, no ties to any donor groups, anything like that. Their specific job is to police the police and only the police, not the citizens. When the police do something out of pocket, it doesn't matter what agency, whether it's the FBI, whether it's a local police department, NYPD, LAPD, U.S. Capitol Police, any police department, Park and Recs Police, whatever policing department, that agency should be the group that goes and oversees whatever happens when there's some kind of misconduct with any kind of policing agency in this country. Until you have something like that, and again, it has to be free of any kind of ties to the system that's already in play. Literally, until you have something like that, the system is going to continue to go in the realms that it's going in. So all of these speeches and some of these public officials who are making these speeches and acting like they're doing so much to make valuable change, that's cool. But right now, the system hasn't changed. It's the same system. We're seeing the same foolery. This is the one example that we can kind of latch onto and say, great, but Sean Bell's family didn't get that. You know what I mean? So many other families who did not get that same element. Eric Garner's family didn't get that. And so it's just like, we'll see where this goes, but I'm not going to sit here and run and parade because work isn't done. And it just sucks that, it's so rare that finally when you get one tiny bit of justice. And again, we haven't even seen the sentencing. We don't know what we're going to get there. But you see one piece of justice, and it's finally there's some element of progress. But the progress is like this big on a mountain of other things, but you literally celebrate it. That's how far behind things are. And it's sad. It's kind of scary. And again, this is why I'm always like, just because you have that milestone or that small achievement, the work isn't done. This is why I was so critical of so many that kind of celebrated when the police were taking the knees at these protests last year. Like, I was like, that doesn't end the problem. Just because the police officer took a knee and now we're out here doing the wobble and the cha-cha slide and the electric slide and all the slides and whatever other dances there are that are out there, it's like that didn't change anything, because again, you watched everything start to reverse. And then towards the latter half of even those protests, you saw the worst come out in many of those police. You watched police literally assault news anchors, assault their own, because they were so busy trying to spray and shoot everybody. They hitting their own people. People have lost literally limbs and eyes and everything else, and it became normalized to the point where they didn't even care that they were on TV doing what they were doing, because they knew that a system was going to back and protect them. That's the scary part of police. In my opinion, I don't even think police are even all that scary. What's scary is that the police can do whatever they want and nothing happens because a system will back them. That's the scary part. And so, we'll see where this goes. Again, I'm glad that Derek Chauvin's family got some justice, but I want to see this justice for every family that has been in that same predicament. There are just far too many names, and it's crazy. Sometimes I'm on the phone with some of my friends, and we're kind of having these conversations, and we may reference a case, and half the time we forget the names of some of the people because there have been so many. And what's crazy and what's scary is a lot of the names that are pretty much a part of the national conversation are only a part of the conversation because social media has become a thing. Think of all the names that existed before Twitter became Twitter and Facebook became Facebook and YouTube became a thing. Think of all those names of all the people from before 2001, from before the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, where there's so many names that were forgotten. And literally the only people carrying the narrative and the legacy of those people who were unjustifiably killed by the police are their families. And it's word of mouth. It's almost like urban legend at this point. So think about all of those elements. There's so much to be done. But like I said, I'm glad that his family got justice, but I want to see this for everybody else. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Share yours. I'm out. Subscribe.
I'm walking the pathway, leads to my greater. Promising for the next day, nothing can stop me. Living for something. Come on, I'm living for something. Releasing control doesn't mean defeat. Sometimes letting go can make things align. It's time to feel when the rain comes, remember it will always wash away your pain, your tears.